What's up, dude?
Fighting old age every day.
Well, it's a good fight, man.
It's a necessary battle.
You're the youngest old guy I know.
I don't know about that. It's catching up with me.
You got to stay healthy and alive for AI to make us all invincible.
Yes, it'll make us all invincible or kill us all.
One or the other. Have you been traveling much?
None.
None.
Now,
I feel like you were traveling so much a few years back. That stopped too, huh?
I used to travel 6 months out of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm not going anywhere. I haven't been anywhere. I was in California a year ago. That was the last trip I took.
Yeah. Is that mostly because the business stuff or just the health stuff?
But I got nothing to do.
Yeah. What's going on, man? Let's talk about it all.
2 years of losing money, and this year is losing money more than last year.
Yeah.
It just is a crescendo, unfortunately. The knockoffs, the economy, the fact we're the highest price balance board out there, all kinds of negatives that I can't overcome. I mean, if I was younger and wanted to dive in head first and nose to the grindstone, but I'm over it. I've been there and done all of that. It's been 26 years. I'm done. I'm going to close the doors. This time next year, I'll be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some good stuff. Can we rewind when things were going good? Can you tell me? I'm sure people that know your brand that would love to hear like the backstory about how it all started. Let's change the topic to the good days.
Well, the good days is that I've had a great run. I mean, I have no complaints. I've been to Europe 37 or 38 times. Been to Japan 8 times. The traveling is great. It's extended my surfing. I've surfed in 23 countries. So I've got no complaints. I love what I did. It was passionate, but it all started back in 1975 when I came up with the design, the oval shape from putting a skimboard on a roller.
Mm-hmm.
And then I spent 23 years in the School of Hard Knocks learning each phase of the business. The 5 businesses I was in from 75 until 98, all were like pieces of the puzzle. It all taught me something that benefited what I needed to know when I started the business in 1998. So unlike a lot of people that have ideas, a lot of people have ideas, but they don't have any of the follow-up.
Yeah.
So in 98, I had way beyond the idea, and I had all of the participles that would make it work in place. So I hit the ground running. And it was crazy run for those 23 years, and the last 3 years have been tough.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty good run. What did the balance board scene look like before that? My wife actually has a photo of her grandma on some sort of a balance board. It was probably in the 60s or 70s, so there had to have been something. What was it like?
There was a product called Bongo Board.
Okay.
They patented and started their business in 1958. Mm-hmm. They advertised in Surfer Magazine. I think they had at one time Corky Carroll was in an ad. And they had a run. In fact, I've got 3 of them here. If you'd like to see one, I'll grab one.
I would love to see it. That's cool.
So this is what I grew up on.
Mm-hmm. Not too dissimilar. That's pretty cool. Man,
It has this keel and groove system.
Okay.
So that keel fit in this slot. And the friction between that wood keel and this slot kept the board from slipping.
So not too many shove-its are happening with that board.
You could shove the whole thing.
Okay.
Roller and the deck would move. But yeah, it was more limiting because it's easier to do a shove without that keel.
Yeah.
And kick flips and ollies and all of that. Very difficult on that because you got to land the keel in the slot. So Plus, it was narrow. It's only, it's not even 12 inches wide. So the beauty of what I came up with was an 18-inch roller and a deck that was 18 inches. So the stability imparted through the width made it work beyond these rectangles. So actually, I had that one from 1970, but in 1967, I had a homemade one that was had no keel or groove on it. It was a rectangle deck and a wooden roller turned out of pine. And so I transformed that in 75 by putting the skimboard on the rope.
So what do you attribute, I would love to know what you attribute your success to, because like you said, a lot of people have tried certain things, and you were saying earlier that if you were younger, maybe you could put your head down to the grindstone. So that there is an aspect to it of just like the hustle and the grind, but there's also, I would imagine, some almost, I think entrepreneurs have almost like a delusion where it's like you feel like you could do these insane things, and a lot of times you can't, and sometimes you can, and you're one of the stories of someone that tried something that was probably ridiculously hard at the time, and you made it work to a phenomenal extent.
Well, here was what pushed me to do it was that literally I taught myself to surf on this homemade balance board in 67, 68. I was a swimmer on the swim team, and when I'd come home from school, I would do my homework standing on the balance board, and after swimming in a pool for 2.5 hours, while my friends, they got home from school, they went surfing. Literally, I surfed better than 95% of my friends, and they all were wondering, how can you surf like that? You're never out in the water. Well, I was fit because of the swimming. And riding the balance board, I taught myself how to hang 10 and cross step on a balance board. So with that in mind, I knew what it did for me. In 1998, the market's wide open for kids to want to improve their surfing. And it's simply a matter of the most overlooked aspect of the sport of surfing is leg strength. Everybody is always concerned about paddling and catching the wave, but as soon as you stand up, it's all about your legs. So increasing leg strength, and just about every surfer using an Indo Board is about a 2-week process. In 2 weeks, I can guarantee if you spend 20 minutes a day, you will tell a difference in your surfing. It just works because leg strength can always be improved, and that enhances the whole surfing experience.
Do you attribute the change in the business due to the knockoffs? Because they've always been there, right? I know, like during the pandemic, we were chatting a few times, and things were going insane. Like a couple of years ago, sales were bonkers, and it's such a wild turnaround. It's sad, but it's also it's a lesson in business, I suppose. What was this? What was the straw that kind of broke the camel's back?
Creating, not copying my design, but creating balance boards and putting it in the fitness space. In China, there's 10, 15 companies that make a full range of fitness equipment, and they just added a deck and a roller.
Okay.
And smaller than mine. They have a 4.5-inch piece of PVC pipe as the roller, and the deck that they use pine and poplar, which is they're not hardwoods, but they do work. And they're selling them for $60 to $90. So on Amazon, if you go and Google Indo Board and you go to start a purchase process, when you get to checkout, it says Amazon pops up all these Chinese knockoffs and says you might want to look at these products, similar products. And so the people that have no knowledge of quality or history of the brand or anything would rather spend $60 to $90 than my cheapest model starts at $150 and up. So, like I said, in the balance board category, Indo Board is the most expensive of all the knockoffs. And there's knockoff companies, one in North Carolina that copies everything verbatim that I've done and innovated, and they just claim it as their own. Now they're chasing after the surf market, and the guy that started it had nothing to do with surfing. He wasn't even a skateboarder. So anyway, it's just a matter of now it's a category. Those boards if you Google balance board, Indo Board doesn't even show up on the first page. It could be on the second and third page. If you Google Indo Board, we certainly come up right at the top.
Right.
Knockoffs are right there underneath it. So, price point and the economy, all of that, after the surge that we experienced in 2020 and 2021, which was mindless, how much we sold out to the walls on 2 different occasions. And that was great. And that's what's keeping me in business now is the money I made then, I put into a savings account.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm still floating is I'm spending that profit I made then to keep me in business. But before that all runs out, that's when I have to do something. So maybe there's a guardian angel out there that'll want to come along and buy the business. Keep my fingers crossed and see what happens.
I don't know if you saw my Facebook post of our trip. We met with Bob Mignona for a nice lunch out there, and we were chatting about a lot of things. But one of the things that I thought was appropriate to bring up now is just the idea of timing in industries. We were saying, Bob being the former publisher of Surfing Magazine, and now print media is dead. It's wild to think about how different people's innovations and contributions can or cannot fall into a timeline that works with that particular innovation, that particular person, that economy that has to be right. There's so many luck variables and different kinds of things. And the surf industry in particular has really been hit by that, in addition to media. And obviously you said your business as well. Where do you see the surf industry going? Because as you know, like Surf Expo and other types of industry, other types of aspects of the industry have kind of fallen off a cliff, and yet surfing itself is probably bigger than ever. It's almost like a reverse curve of the bell curve, I guess, is sort of reversed. More interest and less industry loyalty, I suppose.
Well, it's a difficult industry for sure, but I mean the growth is found in cheap surfboards. Number one, anybody can go to Costco and buy. I don't know what they cost now. They were as low as $89, and I think now they're averaging about $200 for the foamies. It makes it accessible. Like every kid in the world can buy a boogie board in a grocery store or a souvenir place for $15. And now, for not that much more, you get a surfboard and go surfing. But that doesn't help the industry as such. There's so much glut out there, and the foamies, I guess, and it comes and goes because it was you couldn't find a foamy during the pandemic. Everything was sold. You couldn't find anything. Couldn't find boogie boards or anything. And now everybody's stocked up. I think we're at a glut of that kind of stuff because everybody bought so much when the world was going haywire and spending money like crazy on that stuff. And that's all settled down. A lot of manufacturers ended up way overstocked. And they lose money because they've got their capital tied up in inventory. I mean, it's a great problem spread over lots of different reasons. But the popularity of surfing, we have more visibility of the professional side of it. It's now available to the masses. They can watch the Pro Tour on YouTube or ABC Wide World of Sports. That never happened before. I mean, now you can say, "Oh, I'm going to go home and watch the Pro Tour."
Yeah.
Salt bells. You just go home and turn on your smart TV, and there you've got it. That certainly helps, and the visibility to the masses. And on the flip side of that is quality within the manufacturing space of clothing and hard goods. There's so much opportunity to buy cheaper knockoff type stuff than ever before. So, it's a tough market that's got to sort itself out, so to speak. I mean, you talk about death of the print media, and then you look at Surfer's Journal, and I think they're selling more magazines than ever.
Yeah.
The print side of things just has to be formulated correctly. I mean, Surfer's Journal was an amazing publication. They keep picking up sponsors. They used to have 3 sponsors. I think they have 7 now.
Yes.
But, print is dead. It's all on the internet, whatever you want to find. Then you go surfing the internet, you get lost in YouTube land. I want to watch this video. Oh, look, now it's showing me 8 other ones. Oh, I'll have to watch that. You can get locked in there for hours on end, jumping around and watching surfing videos from contests to stories and travel logs and all the webcasts that are put on by all the pros. Start Jamie O'Brien sitting at the top, and then your boy up there in New Jersey, Ben Gravy, he's riding the coattails. But then you have all the Hawaiian kids too. Makua and his brother, Mike Ho's son, whatever his name is. Those guys are all living the dream because they can make a living making a TV show. And that's available to anybody that wants to search through it. So it's the proliferation of visibility of the sport of surfing has never been so high.
It's a weird world for things like that because on one level, you have more access to people with whatever sort of endeavor you're working on. You have more access to reaching the masses. But on the other flip side of it, it's so damn saturated. It's really strange. Like my career sort of gained a lot of momentum from social media in the early days. There wasn't nearly as many artists, and now it's like there's 5 trillion artists. Yeah. It's very strange to see a lot of innovation, a lot of creative work be commoditized. You mentioned like you helped to create a category, and now you've sort of been escorted off the playing field by the competition. And I think artists and musicians and writers and a lot of other categories that we can't even comprehend are either already are or going to be experiencing something similar as AI gets more advanced. It's such a unique set of problems that young people especially who are first trying to sort their path out. Before it was sort of you have to figure out your path and then just work hard and do your thing, and eventually, hopefully, it works. And now there's a whole other set of variables that we never saw coming.
Yeah, well, the world, times they are changing more quickly and more broadly than ever in the history of mankind. So it's just weathering through the storm and see how it all shakes out. There's a lot of questions and not a lot of answers as we move forward in time.
But like you said, you had a hell of a run. You're right. I'm wondering what some of the highlight reel would contain for you, aside from like the factual stuff, like I surfed in X amount of countries and blah blah blah. I'm talking like more specific, like the some of the pinch me moments that you kind of think back to, like that really freaking happened. Like, oh my God, the people that you've mingled with and the people that you've been comrades with and taken trips with, and the weird behind the scenes type stuff that you've gone through. I mean, everyone knows you in the surf industry, and so many pro athletes and business owners. What would some of the highlight reel contain for you?
Well, I think the interaction I've had internationally, all those trips to Europe, was visiting my distributors in each country and then doing promo tours. And the people that I met doing the promo tours and lives that ended up being affected by using the Indo Board boggles my mind to this day. I'm going to kind of skip around here. I was at a show over in San Diego, the boardroom show, which is about surfboards. And I had my booth where we're doing demos and kids enjoy what they're doing. This guy walked up to me and he just started talking. He said, you know, dude, you change people's lives. And I went, well, what do you mean? He says, people that are using your product, it's changing what's happening with their surfing and other aspects of their life. You are changing people's lives. And I never really put it on that level. And it was kind of, I go back to that moment quite a bit. If I get depressed, I think about that I've actually changed people's lives. Case in point, I was watching Weird Waves the other day by Dylan Graves, and he's over in Italy. Mm-hmm. I surfing with in Italy is a kid I gave an Indo board when he was 12 years old. And I ran into him some 8 years later, and he's the top 2 or 3 premier pros in Italy, which, as you know, surfing in Italy, it's rare days that you get great waves in Italy.
Yeah.
He grew up basically in southern France around Biarritz and Hossegor and there. And so his proclivity on the pro tour, sponsorship by Quicksilver and all, he really learned to surf in south of France. But this guy, I'm trying to remember his name, he doesn't have that history. And he's one of the top surfers. And here he is surfing with my buddy Dylan Graves. And Dylan, he had an Indo board when he was 4 years old. And not that I claim his surfing talent, but, you know, all of those, the people I come across have been using Indo boards for years and how it has benefited their sport. Evan Geiselman, Eric Geiselman, they used to spend time in my booth at Surf Expo when Evan was 8 and Eric was 11 or 12. And their mom came to me when Evan was about 12 and he was just killing every contest. And she said, I know for a fact that his success in what he's doing surfing is a great deal in the amount of time he spent on Indo.
Dude.
So those type of things, mothers, I had a pro wake skater. His mom told me the same thing. Reed Hansen, who was the winningest wake skate rider in the history of wakeboarding. He's won, 6 to 8 world titles or something. His mom came up to me and told me that it was the exact same thing. When he started winning the world, when he won his first world title, she told me that the amount of time he spent on Indo board was directly correlated with his success on a wake skate behind a boat. So, yeah, those type of highlights and the names of those people, world champions that have benefited from an Indo board, the list goes on and on. Right now I'm working with Ryan Dodd, who is now 6-time world water ski jump champion. I started working with him when he was in college in 2004. And here he is 20 years later winning the world title. He's got the world record for the longest water ski jump. And it's part of his daily training routine. So those types of stories and successes by world-class athletes is by far the gets me right here.
That's beautiful. You know, I'm not unique in saying this, but one of my favorite things about surfing and skateboarding, for that matter, are the social aspects, hanging out with your buddies, you know, being out on the lineup, having a good conversation, being out in nature, kind of egging each other on, rooting each other on, kind of the competition. And I have found from personal experience that the Indo board has been the same for us. Like since I first met you, however many years ago or decades, whatever it's been, a long time ago. I've had an Indo Board in our living room, and the amount of house parties and conversations that the Indo Board experience has been the center of is innumerable. Just being on the Indo Board with your buddies hanging out, back in the day, everyone's drinking, hanging out, and kind of egging each other on. And it really has this similar social aspect to it. So while it didn't make me a world champion surfer by any stretch of the imagination, it definitely added to, it continues to add to our lives. And our kids enjoy the Indo Board. We still bring it out in the living room. And so it makes me incredibly sad that to hear of the woes that the company is having, because I really do think it's your work has really put a lot of smiles on a lot of people's faces, aside from the athletic aspect of it. I think just socially and just having good times and good memories. That's really, I think, what life is about. I think that's why people should be surfing and skateboarding and playing guitar and doing all these things, just to enjoy life. And I think you've definitely contributed that to our lives for sure.
Well, that's nice to hear. Thanks a lot. But here's one story I'll never forget. I pulled into Spanish House to go check the surf, and I had my van with Indo Board magnets on the side of it. And this guy comes over. I pull into park, and this guy comes over. He says, "Are you the Indo Board guy?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm Indo, man." He says, "We have so much fun with that. It's in my dorm room, and we challenge all these guys when they come in and we're having some beer, smoking some joints. We challenge them to see how they get along, and we just can't wait for them to eat shit."
Oh, yeah.
So much fun. It's entertaining. We love it. It's the best thing. So, that the social aspect was brought firmly in my face with that guy.
Hell yeah. The amount of business phone calls I've done bouncing on an Indo Board also.
Right now.
Yeah, there you go. What advice would you give to your younger self, kind of seeing the big picture now? I would imagine you're in a part of life, both personally and business, where you're kind of reflecting a lot, I would imagine. Correct me if I'm wrong. But so what sort of lessons have you pulled out from that reflection?
Geez, I haven't really reflected a little.
No? Well, you had mentioned you were depressed. So I figure that usually goes along with reflection, a lot of backwards thinking when you're...
Story is just things going like this.
Mm-hmm.
The time. And that's how I kind of live my life. I've been very fortunate, and I acknowledge that to myself every day. It's a real blessing to be come as far and done the things I've done. As far as I'm not one to look back and say, well, I always say coulda, woulda, shoulda. That's a waste of air. So, I really haven't dwelt upon what I coulda, shoulda, woulda done. Because it happened without, I could be more organized, I guess.
I've seen your office. That's true.
Yeah. I mean, you should see my house. It's like
I've seen your house.
It was, 5 years ago.
Something, yeah. I remember you had the slack line inside your house, which I thought was pretty cool.
It's still there.
Are you still able to do that with your knees?
Yeah, my knees haven't bothered me that direction. My knees are a problem when I get up, and for some reason I'm positioning myself with my feet in the right place. It turns my forward foot seems to end up, the stringer's here, and I want to straddle the stringer here. It ends up over here.
Okay.
Goofy foot. My right foot is on the wrong side of the freaking stringer. And trying to turn like that works the knee. So anyway, that's the physical problems with all old age. And trust me, it perplexes me as to why that's happening.
Yeah.
But then I come to find out Greg Lohr doesn't surf anymore because he had the exact same problem. He'd get to his feet, and your feet aren't in the right place. Well, on the East Coast, more than any place else, you don't have any time to adjust.
Right.
Section's going to get you.
Yeah, get up and go.
Break, you've got just a little bit more time to make a correction and get going. But, a lot of times. It turns out on backside, my foot's in the right place because it's on that inside rail. So I problem backside, it's front side.
Okay.
I was in Mexico on this 400-yard long point break, and my knee at the end of the day was killing me. And I wasn't until I saw the drone videos of my entire wave, and I'm looking, my front foot is completely wrong. But I've never had that problem. So you go figure.
Well, maybe get some stem cells shot in there or something, you know.
Well, I had one doctor tell me, we'll do surgery next week, and I said, well, wait a minute. He didn't even tell me what you saw on the MRI. So out of his office, and I haven't had surgery. That was 6-7 years ago. And I haven't had surgery. I've had a couple good physical therapists that work with me and pain-free until my grandson gets me out and decides he wants to run. And without thinking, I start running after him. And then that evening, go home and my knees are killing me. So, trying to keep up with my grandsons is the chore right now. And actually, that's the impetus to just close the doors. I want to spend time with my grandsons and help them out and enjoy life. And I'm 72 now. And once you hit that 7 number, there's no kidding. It's right there in your face. Old age sucks.
It sucks, but it beats the alternative, doesn't it?
It's true. But I saw Kelly Slater say that exact same thing on a video. He was doing an interview with Tom Carroll at Bell's with the exact same statement. He's exactly 20 years younger than me. So if he says it, and I can say it and know it's the truth.
It's pretty phenomenal seeing what he's still capable of doing, though. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, but I think the person to pay attention to really is Jerry Lopez. He's done it right from the beginning. Probably
yoga.
He's been doing yoga since the late 60s, and he never stopped. And on the verge of guru status, if not already. And I followed his path for 23 years, and then I got injured, and I stopped doing the yoga and the stretching. And it's perplexing now, just how much my body has changed since not following through with that. And everything I read and look and see what Jerry's doing, I don't know what kind of injuries he puts up with, but I'm sure probably less than a lot of us, because he's just so flexible. It's a joy to watch him move and surf still.
Yeah. I feel like the older I get, the more I'm very vigilant about such topics. And it just gets increasingly complex. Like you read one article, you're like, okay, all I have to do is do intermittent fasting. And then I have to add some yoga. Then I have to do red light therapy. And then I have to cut out this food and that drink and this food and that ingredient. And then I have to lift 4 to 5 days a week. And then I have to run to keep my cardio, my VO2 max up. And it's like the list goes on. And it's both exciting because I like to do all that stuff, but it's also just, it's a lot. And I can see why people get overwhelmed because it's a lot to stay on top of things.
Going, if I do this and I don't have time to do that, which means I don't have time to do that. It's like crazy.
Yeah. Take me back to the early days of when you first started the company. What did those first few years look like before things took off? And then how did that feel as you sort of became the IT brand for a bit?
Well, it had a life of its own. Kind of, I was smart enough, or I would more so say lucky enough, that the timing when I started the business, I had a website at the corresponding with that timeline, and it was when people started to embrace buying stuff online.
Mm-hmm.
That kept me in business, being able to sell at retail, but my focus was on wholesale. Getting it into the stores, having distributors sell it to the stores, and getting it into as many doors as I could. I would drive up the East Coast every summer. I did that, I think, 5 summers in a row, and fill my van up and do demos at the shops all the way up to Massachusetts. sell inventory, do demos, and then again focus on the wholesale side of business. So in 2006, my business was 18% direct to consumer or mail order, and the rest was to stores and to distributors. So it would get wider spread availability that way. And now my business is 95% direct to consumer, maybe 5%. There's still some shops around that will stock it. But, right now I've got problems with keeping inventory, and because ordering from China has become a little more difficult. The wood is not as readily available. It takes longer to get an order made. The shipping problems worldwide right now is another issue. So timeline is affected. So anyway, it's just not it's not as easy as it once was.
So how long would you say it took to go from starting a company to being your main gig that was paying all the bills?
I started getting paid at the end of my third year.
Okay.
And I poured through all my savings at that point, but then it was just kept going like this. 2003, 2004, 2005, the growth was unbelievable. Like I say, it was 2007, I believe, when ratio of 18% direct to consumer and the rest to stores. That all started to change as the internet and Amazon grew to dominance, and the whole Amazon thing. I didn't embrace Amazon until late 2014. Okay. And that everything, because we were on Amazon, and the rule that I came to know, if you're not playing Amazon's game, you're not in the game.
Yeah.
And when we jumped into the Amazon world, that we had great growth, and not that, but it took away from the selling to the distributors and the retailers. I mean, a lot of retailers we were selling to at that point were putting them online themselves, but then they go and get into pricing wars with other retailers selling. So we had to cut off a lot of those people because they were undercutting my website. So it was a lot of transition with the internet changing, and it's still, that's what's driving business. How it all works today is what's going on the internet. That's why Amazon and their knockoffs with the Chinese manufacturers is greatly affecting my business. Now, Amazon doesn't care about anybody. They just keep figuring out how to charge more money and make more money. It's more difficult now than it's ever been. But it's easy for people to start up. You can go, if you do the right stuff, and you got some guy that's a website wizard and knows Amazon and stuff, you can be a startup company, generate some sales right out of the box. And that happens from time to time. For a while there, I'd see a new balance board company every 3 or 4 months. It was crazy. Not so much now. But yeah, that's my biggest difficulty, because I'm an old guy and I don't embrace all the social media stuff. I don't do emails on my phone. I don't do Facebook or that's the only social media I have anything to do with, is Facebook, and I won't do that on my phone. And I've never Instagrammed or TikToked or any of that other stuff. It's not my world. I've chosen not to be a slave to this, because I watched the guy that worked for me in California. Every minute he was doing this, and I didn't want to do that, so I don't. So that's really separating me and making me an old guy, because us old guys don't want to know about how much time we want to spend on that phone. But your generation is founded on that. That's what's making the world go round, in commerce and communication and everything is all based on social media.
Yeah. So you can't escape it. It's definitely not my generation, because I grew up in the Atari generation. But I've embraced technology, and I do like I I do like exploring my nerdy side, and I do like learning about technology. So I'm up to speed on all of it, but I don't think it's healthy that a lot of our society is glued to their phones. It really kind of stresses me out seeing people not being present with each other. And my wife and I Chelsea, are very aware of that with our kids. So none of them have phones, and we're going to delay that as long as we possibly can. And I don't think that's healthy. I think people should be out enjoying nature. That being said, I think, you can't avoid technology, so I think you should be fluent with it. And I think it has a lot of positive aspects too. But it is pretty strange, especially seeing like with these Apple Vision goggles and like Neuralink and all these other crazy things. It's going to be a weird world that my kids grow up in rather. We were just in California, we were in West Hollywood, and it was like a scene from like a futuristic movie. We're walking around, and a driverless car goes by. This company Waymo, which is basically like, do you know about them? It's basically like Uber, but with driverless cars. So you just call it up, and they have these like weird things on top of the roof. And so this driverless car goes by, and then we're walking up the street, and this robot is driving up the sidewalk delivering food to people. So there's like a robot, a driverless car. Then this crazy homeless person is running towards us full charge with his cart and throws the cart into the robot. And then we like freaked out. We're like, what the hell is going on? And we turned the corner to get away from the crazy homeless guy. And then he takes his cart and throws it into oncoming traffic. It was just such a weird, like, apocalyptic, futuristic scene, It was weird.
On the edge of the apocalypse, I guess.
It is strange, man. It is weird.
That talk about crazy world. You didn't see it all in L.A. You got a great taste of that.
It was not as crazy as I thought it would be. That's not to say that there wasn't crazy aspects to it or aspects that I wasn't really excited about. But I think leading up to our trip, I was like, what are we going to go into right now? I wasn't really sure. So I would say that it was not as chaotic as I thought it would be. But that being said, holy crap, do they have a lot of problems to deal with out there?
Well, all the big cities do at this point.
Yeah.
The influx of the immigrants and all of that, it's affecting the cities beyond belief. We're just on the tip of the iceberg with that. So yeah, where the world's headed right now is, who knows?
I said it, man.
Now their new film I saw, it's called Civil War.
Yeah.
You heard of it?
I haven't heard of it. I'm probably not going to see it because I don't want to stress myself out. It's just freaking crazy how divisive people are on both sides. Everyone is. It seems like a lot of the loudest people are very existential, where they feel like, quote unquote, the other side is all evil, and it's so unhealthy. I saw a thing today. It was like an Instagram I follow about travel and about one of those travel type things, and it was like it was rating some of the best places to move to, and one of the top ones was in Florida, and the comments were just like, you could imagine some of the negative comments on there, and I'm like, I guarantee these people have never even been to Florida, because when you go there, it's quite normal. People are really nice. It's beautiful. And I think on the flip side of that, me going out to LA, I was expecting the exact opposite, and we had a great time, and there was definitely problems. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely some craziness going on. But overall, it was a great time, and you see all the normalcy that if you stay off social media and you stay off the news outlets, things are a lot more normal than all the different crazy sides would like you to believe.
Oh, no, unfortunately, the media is sensationalizing both sides, all sides, just having their job description is to sensationalize everything they cover as a downfall of normalcy. And like I said, that movie is called Civil War. It's the modern idea of what all of this diversity, when it hits the fan, what it's going to be like. So, yeah, it's scary. So take your advice and don't go see it.
Yeah. Have you, I don't know where else would be any better, to be honest, but have you thought about just taking whatever savings you have and starting over in like Costa Rica or something?
No, because Costa Rica, I was there when there was nobody there. I went in there in 1973, 1974, surfed Tamarindo when there was nothing in Tamarindo. Nothing. So Nicaragua in 1992 when there was nobody else surfing in Nicaragua. I went to Bali in 1979 and all through the 80s and surfed G-Land where there was no people. I mean, now I see these monster hotels right at Uluwatu, and I can't perceive. I mean, the life and the culture that I experienced back then when the world wasn't overrun, I want to maintain those memories. And I've got great friends in Bali. I haven't been there in 30 years. I left to live in surfboards there. I'm sure they're long gone, but I've got friends over there that say, come on over. I got friends in Costa Rica telling me Frida Zamba is telling me to come and stay with her and go surf. I've got friends all over the world. I've got no shortness of choices to make and places to go, but to uproot and go is that's all null and void because of my grandkids. So I see grandkids and have an impact on that. So though I know there's probably better places to be, family right now is most important. So
yeah. I struggle with that all the time. The more we travel, the more places I see where I'm like, I could totally live here and maybe even be a lot happier. But, with my parents are aging and I got my brother here and my niece is here. It's a hard thing. It's a tough balance to figure out which aspects and which people in life to prioritize and which things you will eventually potentially regret and won't regret. And, that's one of the toughest parts of life, I think.
Yeah. Like I say, at my age, I look back and I have no regrets. I mean, I can get hit by a car and be dead in 5 minutes when we're finished with this. I wouldn't have missed a thing. So I've got no regrets whatsoever. I've had a phenomenal life, far beyond most normal people. So I bathe in that every day because that keeps me going. What I've done has been great, and what I can do with my grandkids and family is what's the variety.
Do you feel you have some old man wisdom to impart on people? Are there mindsets that you feel are lacking, or are there lessons? Like I feel like there's some wisdom in you that maybe you could share on what makes a happy life. Which priorities should people be focusing on? Why are you laughing so much? What's happening over there?
I don't know if I dwell on things like that. I mean, if I was to suggest anything, I would say great food and good red wine. White wine.
Are you still a sake guy?
Oh, yeah. Great sake.
Okay.
The best of everything. I mean, if you're going to put it in your body, you might as well put the best. When I first started smoking pot back in the 60s and 70s, I always went out and found the best weed I could find. And I didn't want to, why do something that's dirt weed?
Yeah, why half-ass it?
Dirt weed. I don't want to smoke dirt weed. I want to smoke that. That all transpired through the psychedelic era and all that. I mean, I went through, was deep into all that. And then I graduated to fine wine and fine dining. And there's nothing better to look forward to. Then I guess my third thing is music. So music, great food, and good wine. That's, to me, what life is all about at this stage. I soak up music. Tonight I'm going to a show. I'm going to a show Friday night and Saturday.
Yeah.
It's about music, primarily the blues. But, yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me, last time we talked, you threw a bunch of blues people at me, and I was walking around at the beach when we were talking, and I don't think I wrote them down. Do you remember with those a couple blues guys that you were like, you definitely should check these out?
There's too many of them to name. I started a list and keeping track when I got onto Apple Music. I used to buy all my music.
Yeah.
Music, it was costing me $12 to download an album so I could have it in my library. They wouldn't take it back. And then I looked at what it would cost if I downloaded all the stuff I wanted to, And Apple Music, as long as you stay subscribed to Apple Music, you can keep all that music. And I've got, my library of music is through the roof. So tonight I'm going to see Nick Moss.
Okay.
And he's just phenomenal. Blues, and he has a harp player with him that's off the chain. They've won 6 blues music awards in the last 5 years. On Sunday, a free concert, Little Ed and the Blues Imperials from Chicago. If you like the blues, it doesn't get any better. Southside Chicago bluesmen are, one of the foundations of the blues genre. And so I'm going to see them. And then Tab Benoit on Friday. He's from Louisiana, another blues guitar player that just absolutely rips. And I can. You want a list of bands? Just let me know, and I'll go through it.
Fair enough. Do you play an instrument? I forgot.
I don't. The only instrument I play is iPhone and Apple Music.
Okay, fair enough. Hunter, man, this has been great. Is there anything else we should touch upon before we part ways on our call?
Have to commend you on your artwork and just what a phenomenal artist you are. And I'm sorry it took us 10 years to get that one Indo Board design, but
good timing on my part.
When we got it, it was exactly what I was looking for, your textures in the water, and we talked about it over and over. And when you finally wrapped your mind around exactly what I was looking for, I noticed a change in some of your artwork. You were doing more of that after you did the Indo Board, and credits for it because it's your talent, but you expanded upon what attracted me. And I think your artwork has benefited a little bit from that, but your artwork is phenomenal. And I'm just so amazed to be a close friend of such a brilliant artist.
Oh, man, I'm honored. Thank you. I have so many fond memories of us over the years, whether it's Surf Expo or going to your house and talking about art and music. I had this hilarious photo from one of the first expos I did. You were like staring at one of my paintings. It was like one of the Bikini Babe paintings that I did at Chelsea, or someone snapped a photo. You're like up close in an area you shouldn't be in the painting. And so when you say that, that's what I immediately picture in my head. But yeah, no, first of all, I'm so glad that we eventually got that Indo Board design done. It's definitely sucks that I missed the heyday, bad timing on when we got it released, but I'm glad that we could say that we did it. And yeah, for sure, I think that it was a cool opportunity to paint a little bit more abstractly in a lot of the elements and styles that I like. And I feel like I'm still kind of going through a transition of figuring out what the next chapter of my creative endeavors will look like. I feel like I'm definitely at a pivotal point where I'm ready to kind of switch things up, and I'm not sure which direction it's going. So it's both exciting and stressful, but I feel like that might have definitely steered the ship in a different direction. So thank you for that. Explore
your abstract textures. So, I've seen other people have already copied what you're doing. You struck a chord. There's people already using textures as a part of their, certainly, surf art.
Yeah.
Like two artists that come to mind right now that I'm seeing what you did and are doing it with your textures that is the direction to go. Abstract textures and colors. Your color paletting is excellent. You keep track of what's relevant, and because every year colors change. What do people want to buy and stuff? And I think you do a great job of that, and just focus on keeping track of what makes you happy.
Yeah, it's funny. Speaking of knockoffs, I've got several across the world. So I guess it's like knockoffs are always a hidden compliment, even though they're kind of screwing you over. It's a nice compliment that there's a guy in Morocco who took me years to actually find out who he was. When I did find out who he was, he didn't seem to give a crap that he was stealing my work. But I've had a lot of people over the years eventually end up finding me, saying how excited they were to buy one of my paintings in Morocco. I'm like, no, you got to rip off. And it's actually a pretty bad rip off. And here's the actual painting what it's supposed to look like. And then I've had a couple instances of like, and the one in Chile with a sunglasses company and another company in Costa Rica. And it's always a nice compliment when people steal your work, but it's also like, hey, I'm trying to provide for my family, so maybe don't do that. So I feel like once people start copying what I'm doing, I'm already on to the next thing. So just part of the nature of it.
Innovators always lead back. And my good buddy here, Mike Nimnick, alias Nemo, he did that for years. He hit the trends, and by the time everybody was copying what he was doing, he was already on to the next thing.
Yeah. I feel like that's where AI puts people at risk, is a lot of artists and musicians stick to one style or genre, and it's really easy, or it's going to be, if it's not already, for AI or any person to copy a style when your style is stagnant. Like when you're doing the same exact thing for a lot of years, it's easy to copy, but when you're constantly moving, you're a moving target. So, yeah. But dude, Hunter, it's always good to talk to you, man. It's nice to have one on the recording, but I always like our conversations, and I hope we could see you soon.
Go daddy up and you watch it for me.
I will, man. I love you, brother. I'll talk soon.
I really hope that you enjoyed that episode. If you did, please take a moment, leave me a review on Spotify and Apple especially. It takes about only 30 to 40 seconds to leave a nice review. You can just click on the stars, you can say something nice. I really do read them all, and it really does mean a lot to me if you could just please do that. And also make sure you hit subscribe and share the episode, connect with me online, connect with our guests. We love all the interaction, so please do so. Also, please check out my website, jalders.com. I am an artist. I'm a father. I'm a family man. I appreciate your support. I would love to get your eyeballs on my artwork. So, yes, keep sending messages. Let me know who you'd like to see on the show next, and I wish you an awesome rest of your day.